It's the summer of 1990, and the Palestinian uprising in Gaza and the West Bank, known as the Intifada, is at its peak. Violence erupts in villages and settlements all over Israel as Palestinians throw rocks and Molotov cocktails at Israelis. So I'd like to take us back to that time and share a story of a young boy just shy of his 9th birthday. Every Friday before Shabbat, this young boy, together with his father and younger siblings, would visit the Kotel, the Western Wall. From there, they would pass through the shuk, the marketplace, where they would sip fresh juice, breathing in the aroma of each food stall in the market. The young boy would cling to his father's hand as they strolled through a market, bustling with excitement and a sense of hurriedness as Shabbat grew closer. One particular Friday, as they arrived at the Western Wall, the lines were intense. The Intifada caused Israel's police forces and IDF to be on high alert. It was a blistering summer day. The Kotel was at maximum security. And as they stood in line for what must have felt like hours, the young boy became increasingly impatient. "Can't we just go home?" he asked his father. "No." "Have some water," his father responded. "We're almost there." They waited some more. "Please, can't we just go home? It's too hot. I can't stand out here for hours," the boy cried. "No," his father responded. "We're almost there." They waited and waited, and eventually they passed through the security line, finally arriving at the foot of the wall. The boy, already aggravated, looked up at his father and proclaimed angrily, "Why are we here? It's just a stupid pile of rocks." All of a sudden, a firm but gentle grip grabbed the boy. Startled, the boy looked up to see an Israeli soldier dressed in his green uniform with a rifle slung across his body. The boy gazed into the eyes of the soldier as trepidation flowed through his body. The soldier, who had overheard the remark, got down on his knees and in Hebrew asked, "Ze Abba Shelcha? Is this your father?" The boy nodded. "Ata yodea efo Abba sheli? Do you know where my father is?" The boy shook his head, unable to verbalize a response. The soldier, not more than 22 years old, looked up and pointed to the sky. "Abba sheli, my father? Bashamayim. He's in the sky." And then in English, the soldier continued, "My father fought and died for that wall." And then the soldier took the boy's hand and led him to the foot of the wall, placing his hand on the wall, and he began to sing. Im eshkachech Yerushalayim tishkach yemini. It may be a stupid pile of rocks to you now, but one day you will understand that this wall is so much more. This wall is about tikva, hope. Always have hope. And then the soldier wrapped his arms tightly around the boy and he said, "Achi, my brother, ani ohev otcha. I love you." And with that, the soldier turned and walked away. Now, 32 years later, I wish I could find that soldier. Because you see, that little boy was me. If that soldier was here today, I would first hug him and tell him, "I love you too." And then I would tell him that he gave me perhaps the most important lesson of my life. While I could not possibly have understood his message to me at 8 years old, I must most certainly do today. His message, even in the darkest of times when the challenges that confront us seem insurmountable, we must never give up hope. We keep fighting for what is right and always remember those who came before us so that we carry their legacy too. Hope is not just a state of mind. It's not just a word that we throw around. Hope is a combination of optimism and action. Hope is aspirational. Hope is sometimes uncertain, but it is never out of reach. Hope is a fundamental responsibility of the Jewish people. And for us, for the Jewish people, hope is born out of a struggle for self-identity, the struggle for freedom, the struggle to develop a system of survival. And today our faith is being tested, and we are at the intersection of good and evil. We are at the crossroads, one that will determine the next 1,000 years for our people. And here is why having hope is so important. Because even in the United States of America, even in the country that has protected and guaranteed our freedom, we have people, elected officials, holding some of the highest offices on our land who speak out against Israel and call for ending our relationship with Israel. People who have the chutzpah to protect terrorists. People who have the audacity to speak in favor of those who cut off the heads of little babies. Of course, they're met with fierce criticism and rebuke from their Jewish and non-Jewish counterparts. And as anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism become increasingly threatening, we must practice hope. That's obligational. That cannot be outsourced. Hope is internal and it's intense. Hope is ambitious. Hope must be absolute. You know, in this week's Torah portion, Parshat Bereshit, which means in the beginning, in Bereshit we are taught that God created the heavens and the earth. God brings light into a world of darkness, water to the thirsty, bird to fill the empty skies, vegetation to barren land. And then on the sixth day, feeling a little lonely, God creates us. The Torah says, Vayomer Elohim na'aseh adam b'tzalmeinu, let us make man and woman in our image, in our likeness. And then the Torah goes on to say, and humans shall rule over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of heaven, and over animals, over all the earth. Essentially empowering us, creating man and woman in God's image, extending through us the power of control over living species. And so we are entrusted with this divine task of performing holy work here on earth. In the Torah portion, we are asked to be partners with God, to be extension of God's power, to be keepers of the universe. The narrative scripted in the Torah is that of a God who invests great energy in creating a world. And the story teaches that God takes pride in God's miracle each day, adding resources to help us begin to live. When we look at our Torah portion, we understand that the world was not born of evil. The world was not created as a forum for hate. In fact, we read that God took pride in God's work, saying, Ki tov, this is good. But then early on in our Torah, after man is created, after woman is created, that's when the problems arise. We see deceit, infighting, and in the very first Torah portion that we just read today, the first murder, as Cain kills Abel. And today, more than 5 millennia removed, our capacity to hate, to destroy, to ruin is still very much present. Today, people kill in the name of God. And while none of us can definitively say what God wants, people who kill in the name of God, those whose hearts are filled with hate, those who seek to inflict suffering on their fellow, people who inject savagery into this world, I can assure you that is not what God wants. That's not what we were created for. It's not our purpose. From the Torah portion, we understand that our free will, the freedom to choose between right and wrong, the flexibility to determine our course of action, the capacity to manipulate our thinking is what makes us uniquely capable and qualified to counterbalance the challenges humans create for ourselves. It is in this Torah portion that we are asked to be a partner with God, to accept the miracle of the world, but to not let that miracle crumble. God lays the foundation, and we must prevent it from cracking. Rabbi Harold Kushner, in his book, Why Bad Things Happen to Good People, writes, God is limited in what God can do by laws of nature and by the evolution of human nature and human moral freedom. God does not cause our misfortunes. Some are caused by bad luck, some are caused by bad people, and some are simply an inevitable consequence of our being human and being mortal, living in a world of inflexible natural laws. In the Talmud, we learn that when God came to create man, he created a group of ministering angels and asked them, "Do you agree that we should make man and woman in our image?" And they replied, "Sovereign of the universe, what will be their deeds?" So God showed them the history of mankind, and the angels replied, "What is man that you are mindful of him?" In other words, let's not create humans. So God destroyed the angels. And then God creates a second group and asks them the same question, and they give God the same answer. So God destroys them. God creates a third group of angels, and they reply, "Sovereign of the universe, the first and second group of angels told you not to create man, and it did not avail them. You did not listen. What can we say but this? The universe is yours. Do with it as you wish." And then God created humans. When it came to the generation of the flood and then to the generation of builders of Babel, the angels said to God, "Were not the first angels right? Do you see how great the corruption of mankind truly is?" And God replied, "Even to old age I will not change. Even to gray hair I will still be patient." God's patience is running out, and so is ours, which is exactly why it is so important for us to maintain hope. As Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, former chief rabbi of England, explains, by creating humans, God was making the one being other than God capable of destroying life on earth. So yes, it is true, we are capable of destroying life on earth. We've seen that play out for the past 7 days. But we are also the only species that can preserve this world. The only group of living beings who, through our words, through our deeds, through our actions, can ensure that this planet become a place for all generations, for all people. And so today, on this Shabbat, as we reflect on the massacre, on the savagery of the past few weeks, as we think about people who quite literally took their last breath of air, let us remember that in the face of tragedy, there is hope. This Shabbat and every day, may we be blessed with the opportunity to share that hope, to infuse the world with our spirit, and to be just as God created us in God's image, affecting positive change in the world, so that our children and grandchildren will know a world that is rich with possibility, with opportunity, and with love. So we turn our prayers to the east and remember that at this very moment, there are men and women fighting to protect the wall and her symbolism, to protect life so that life can continue. Im eshkachech Yerushalayim tishkach yemini im lo ale et Yerushalayim Yerushalayim al rosh simchati. Shabbat shalom.